And those homes are like beautiful little gems that people are like, oh, I can't afford to live there. And they're not realizing that those prices, some of them have drastically reduced their prices, or they are very motivated to sell. They need to sell. So there've been homes sitting on the market that I'm going, I don't understand this at all. And homes in other areas that are not as desirable for the same amount of money are very close. So I think that's a missed opportunity for buyers. Buyers should be coming in because sellers are willing to negotiate, right?
Welcome to Live by Design Mexico Edition, the podcast about creating freedom, adventure, and a life in Mexico that truly feels like your own. I'm your host, Taniel Chemsian. If you've been dreaming of warmer days, smarter investments, and a future designed on your terms, your journey begins here. Every week, we dive into stories, insights, and strategies to help you make Mexico not just a destination, but a new way of life. We've got so much to cover today, we had to split it into 2 episodes. So settle in and don't miss a moment. Don't wait for life to happen. Design it. And it starts right here. Kristina, welcome back to the podcast. How you been? It's been a year.
It's been a year. It's really good to hear from you again, Taniel. How are you doing?
Well, same here. Okay, Kristina. So last time we chatted was a year ago. Real estate market was different a year ago. So what's happening with the real estate market in Lake Chapala now, 2026?
So I would say that it's still buyer favorable here, but it's shifting. So we're moving out of a really strong buyer's market and into a softer or balanced buyer's market. So inventory is down 20%. So we were seeing record highs of 500 homes on the market when our average was 300, 350. And now, right now, today, we have 400.
Why do you think that is? Like, what's going on with the sellers? I mean, are things selling like crazy, or are less owners putting their homes on the market?
No, I think that things are starting to sell again. It's picking up. I think that we're becoming more balanced. So we're in a buyer's market, but the inventory is down, and they still have negotiating power in many situations. So, and we've even had 3 different homes that were purchased sight unseen within hours of hitting the market in the last couple of weeks, that's not typical. I'm very grateful for it, but it's beginning to happen more and more.
So how's that happening? Are there agents finding these properties, or looking at the MLS, calling their agent saying, hey, I just saw a new listing in the MLS, I want it? What's going on?
I mean, it's a combination of things. The market's normalizing. People who have their home staged well and it's priced realistically, they're prepared to show it. Those homes are selling. So I think that most of the buyers are probably coming through a combination of realtor.com for us, and also through YouTube, really, which is, I mean, you're doing YouTube now, but I find that agents who do decide to do something with YouTube and create a presence, they get called whenever they have a new property that comes on the market.
And your company, are guys putting out a lot of real estate YouTube videos?
Yes. In fact, we're really pivoting to try to do a lot more of that. You have an incredible presence, right, online, and we're just trying to figure it out. And for us, we always do a video for the home, but we have not classically done any kind of voiceovers or anything. But what we're finding is that all of the algorithms, the trends say people need to see a face when they're connected with a property or whatever. It doesn't even need to be a very long video. They just need to see that there's somebody there that they can connect with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I'm noticing right now is a lot of companies, real estate companies, they're using AI for all this, which is AI is really incredible. And then they're animating all these buildings and everything. I think it's cool to a certain point to use AI technology in terms of the imaging and the videos, but also it's become very boring and saturated where everyone's doing that. And agents are just too nervous to be in front of the camera, because real estate, it's, like you said, I want to see who the agent is. If I can trust the person, I want to hear them speak. Are they knowledgeable, experienced? Do they work with international buyers, And,
Yep. Tell me, I'm talking to AI Taniel Chemsian right now. I'm not talking to an AI.
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah.
You know, there might be a little avatar of me, which kind of sounds scary, but I totally get it. You know, you want to see the you want to see the real, you want to see the agent, you want to see the person, you want to see
Yeah.
what the property truly looks like. And I think AI is good for, especially if it's a pre-construction project and they want to see what it might look like. So
Right.
animation helps with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so the tool is good for certain things. I do agree with you. Really quick question, Christina. You said the inventory has gone down,
Yeah.
the buyer is stabilizing. Are you seeing sales and a certain price point nowadays versus a year ago? Like they're buying more expensive properties, more affordable, mid-range. What are we looking at?
So, okay, last year, our average sale price was 360,000. This year, our average sale price is 385,000. It's about the same, but even with that average, the strongest activity that we're seeing is between 300 and 600,000. So,
Okay.
yeah,
And would you say most of your buyers are international buyers or are they nationals?
most of our buyers right now are American. I don't know if it's to do with the politics. I think there's a lot, it's multifaceted in the US. I think that, but I've seen a large increase. It was, I would say, probably 50-50 or, yeah, about 50-50. And now it's 64% American
Yeah.
are
Well, you said, you know, for political reasons, I got to tell you, virtually all the real estate agents I've interviewed recently throughout Mexico, when we're talking about like why are people moving to Mexico? And usually the number one on the list is the lower cost of living, which has always been at the top of that list. But it's amazing in the last few years, people are moving because of the geopolitical environment. Um, with all the chaos and the uncertainty that's being created, you know, back at home, and people are just kind of fed up. They don't want to live under that kind of stress anymore.
no stressful. And we've had a number of younger families come who are coming because they're worried that their kids are going to get drafted into a war or, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't have a crystal ball, but I think that the US feels a little more destabilized than it has in years past. So it's not about affordability or cost of living or weather or any of that as much as I feel a sense of urgency from people who want to leave the US. They still want to be close though.
Yeah. Well, and they want to have peace of mind. And I think it's very difficult right now. Every single time you turn on the news,
Yep.
peace of mind is nowhere in sight. It just seems like it's an ongoing turmoil that's just, it's just never ending, which is really unfortunate. But we'll see how things pan out. You said something about families moving down.
Yeah.
Was that the case last year, or are you seeing more of that this year?
It was the case last year too, but I'm seeing even more people who are coming down with kids this year. So again, I think it's politically driven. I think a lot of people want to, they're thinking about living where they can have a garden and maybe even live off grid or, near a lake, of course. So I think it's attractive.
So they're coming down here with their kids. What's the educational system like in Lake Chapala and the surrounding areas? Are there like bilingual schools?
Yeah, actually, we have a lot of bilingual schools. I just did a summary of them. I think we've got something like 8 different private bilingual schools in this area. And it's not an enormous area compared to yours. So there's a lot of options for people who want to put their kids in from preschool to high school. There's baccalaureate programs that are internationally recognized. Yeah. And even not just Spanish and English. Some of them are French or German and Spanish.
No, that's great. We have a lot of private bilingual schools here in Puerto Vallarta and in Nueva Vallarta, which is just north of the airport. Something I've also noticed, Christina, and I don't know if you guys are experiencing this as well, is we're also having people move here from like Central and South America. Are you guys seeing that as well?
Yeah. But actually, the 3 buyers that I said had purchased sight unseen, one was from Belize, one was from Colombia, and the other one was from Panama.
Wow.
So yes, we are. Now, we advertise in Latin America. You probably do too. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but I am surprised that we've had just in the past couple of weeks, people from those 3 different countries. And none of them are Colombian or from Belize originally or Panama. They are people from the US or Canada who went down to live there and decided that it wasn't what they had hoped it would be, and they wanted a better life here.
Okay. And in terms of inventory, like what are some of the things that the buyers are facing in terms of competition? Like what are their options nowadays? Are you guys building condos over there? Because I remember when last time I was in Lake Chapala and Naik, which was a million years ago, I can't remember. I don't recall any condo buildings. Everything were just houses.
But yeah, we have a lot of developments going on right now, and of course, there's a lot of mixed feelings from the people here because I think he especially is so
Mhm.
ending up with
For our viewers who don't know what that is, could you explain?
as it's a designation by the government that it protects the town or city, and it's usually based on something cultural that's exclusive to that area, and it helps because there's funds that are directed that can help beautify the city or the town. In our case, our village has murals all over the place, and most Pueblo Mágicos, they have a very strict sense of painting everything the same color. It's like a kind of an ochre or off white and that brick red color. And with us, they actually said, no, we're going to let the murals stay. In fact, we're going to encourage murals. So it's very colorful here still. And that was something we were concerned about. And right now, they're going down the streets and they're putting in underground power lines. So, I mean, you've been all over Mexico, I know, and you'll often see just like the spaghetti wires of electricity up on the poles, right?
Yeah.
So in Antique right now, they're going down the streets and they're burying the power lines. So it's going to look a lot better. And then hopefully they'll work on the sidewalks, and they need to do some things to bring this up to the level of a Pueblo Mágico. It certainly deserves that.
Over 20 years ago, and by the Malecon, Centro of Vallarta, they put all the power lines underground, so you don't have, like you said, like a spider web of wiring over your head, so it looks nice and clean. A really quick percentage, you're mentioning about the mixed feelings of the condo buildings going up. So can you continue with that for us?
Sure. I mean, this is a village. It's a small village. It's not a city. It's not a colonial area like San Miguel de Allende, for example. I think that change is difficult. Change is difficult for everybody, pretty much, and dealing with the different developers who are coming in and making sure that they're respecting the ecosystem and not becoming a drain on resources like water here, and that they have the proper permits. We have to be careful with that. Not all of them are completely where they need to be in terms of selling to a buyer yet. But there's a lot of building going on.
Now, these condo buildings, typically, how many floors are they?
They're supposed to only be 3 feet, but there's some in the Antique area that have gone up to 5. And I'm not going to speculate on how that happens, but sometimes people just have deeper pockets and decide that they can pay the fines or whatever they need to pay to do it. There's luxury homes, there's luxury condos. Some of them are truly spectacular, beautiful. The concepts are like commercial underneath the condos that are going up vertically. So you've got,
Mixed usage.
it's mixed usage, and it's nice in that sense to think of the convenience and how close we are to the airport. We're 30 minutes, 40 minutes to the airport in Guadalajara. So it's nice to think about just being able to go downstairs and buy your groceries and get your hair cut and eat at a restaurant. It's nice. Also, it's different than the slow cadence of life that, we still love it here. It's still the horses clippity-clopping down the cobblestone roads, right? So it's kind of the past meeting the future.
Yeah. I remember when I had an economics class back in junior high school or high school, and my teacher, Mrs. Arpea, I remember, lovely lady, and she said, I'm going back to the late 80s now, and late mid 80s, and she said, land is limited, eventually we are going to be building up. And I know that's some people, that's the future. There's only limited amount of land. It's just going to be the airspace now. We're just going to build up. And as the world's population grows, what are our options? That's where it's going. And I do agree with you. Developers need to do this responsibly. You got to make sure the infrastructure is there. And unfortunately, a government takes a while for the funding for the infrastructure to improve the sewage, the electrical. It doesn't happen overnight. There are those growing pains to go through, unfortunately. But I don't want to say it is what it is.
Well, and it is. It is. It's growth and it's change. So
And who's buying into these condos? Do you find them mostly foreign buyers or nationals as well?
Nationals. I would say that in the condos at this point, what we're seeing is it's mostly Mexican nationals. They're left and go. So it's easy for them. They can come stay for a week or so or a weekend and then go back to Guadalajara to their house there. And in the meantime, when they're here, they're taking advantage of all the amenities and the pools and the lake and all that. I think that one of the frustrations a lot of people are having with some of the condos being vertical is blocking lake views that people have had for forever. And suddenly they've got a great big building and they've lost their lake view. So, but that's something that happens anywhere that there's a water view, right? It happens.
Well, in Vallarta,
Yeah.
so there are a lot of, look, 30 years ago, there weren't that many condo buildings, and a lot of the homes in the hills had fantastic ocean views. But now you've got beachfront condo high rises that have gone up anywhere from 7 stories to 20 stories, depending on the zone and the region. And people that had ocean views now have none, or they just have a partial peekaboo
View. Yeah.
And even where I live, my building where I live, if I had bought that condo 15 years ago, I would have had fantastic ocean views. Now I've got a slither here and here. So it's completely gone. But you know what? It is what it is. It's growth. I just think if you want to protect the view, you want to protect an ocean view, you literally have to be in a beachfront building or be in the hillside where the way it's built, nothing else is built in front of you to obstruct that view. And those are your pretty much your options.
Yeah. But those are both pretty good options, especially if you go up on a hill. You're further away from the salt and what it does. And I feel like if I had a choice, that's probably what I would do.
Now, are they building new houses as well, or is it just basically the new construction you're seeing are just condos?
Now there's new houses being built as well. New developments that have houses, and they're nice houses. Most of them are, they're all very modern, which it's true that Mexican buyers, they seem to strongly prefer the more contemporary look. People from the Pacific Northwest also do, and up in British Columbia and Canada, and all, they seem to also really prefer that more modern look. But I find the majority of people coming from Canada and the U.S., they're looking for something a little bit more colonial feeling, or arches, more true to Mexican tradition.
Yeah. A throwback to yesteryear.
Yeah, the old world thing.
Yeah, to the old world. And there's something to be said and very charming and very warm about living in an old colonial home. I agree. For our market over here in Puerto Vallarta, the Mexican nationals that are buying like a second home, like you said in Chapala, it sounds like it's a weekend getaway for the people from Guadalajara. But over here, I see more of the nationals gravitating towards those, like the Miamis, ultra modern. They love it because, where they're coming from, they see a lot of the older colonial buildings and they want something different. So they gravitate more towards the newer construction.
Exactly.
And so are you seeing like the newer homes selling more than the more traditional homes? Are people just gravitating towards one architectural style versus another?
I would say that the more contemporary homes are newer homes, and people are still gravitating toward the turnkey homes that are being sold furnished. Perhaps they even have the linens and the dishes and towels, and you just bring your toothbrush and move in. I think that even the cost of moving to another country and people are looking at starting over, it makes a lot of sense if you can purchase a home that has everything already there. You can go through it and you decide you want to change your furniture, but you have time. And my experience is that homes that are furnished and more traditional are still selling more quickly than homes that are modern. The contemporary homes like that, like I said, they're usually new builds and they're not always furnished. That's not always the case, but I think that still is for Americans and Canadians. I'm seeing they still really appreciate the traditional color and that feeling of being in Mexico.
And, at least for us in Vallarta, most of the resale properties are sold fully furnished or partially furnished. Is that the same in your market as well?
Yeah, absolutely. It costs a lot of money to move your furniture.
Yeah.
If you want to take it back to, let's say, the US or Canada or wherever you moved here from to another country, it's expensive. And not only that, but it doesn't really fit the
That's
same.
right. Yes.
Not the same styles up there. So your, Frida Kahlo painting doesn't resonate the same way.
Unless it's some family heirloom or some piece of furniture that you're absolutely married to, like a special chair or something that belongs to your great grandmother. That's one thing. So let's tell people, you know what? Get rid of your furniture. It costs too much money to ship it down here. And when you bring it down, it's not gonna fit the space. It's gonna look weird.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or it's made of a certain material, like leather, and then start getting mold in the tropics. It's like, listen to what I'm saying. Get rid of it.
Yeah. Well, I absolutely agree with you. And the thing too is that it can get banged up or broken in a move like that. So a furniture.
Or it was missing.
Yes. But the thing is that you can get the things here that are so custom and it's surprisingly affordable, that are, in my opinion, more beautiful than anything I could have bought, at IKEA or, Haverty's or other places in the US that are not IKEA, but in more expensive furniture stores. But these things are custom. Like we just had an island done with Parota wood. She matched the grains. I have saddle leather handles on it with silver grommets, and it's got a beautiful black leather granite top. And it looks like art because of the way that she made sure that the grains all matched. It just looks like one piece of wood. And, so if you like things like that, you can get it done in Berkeley here.
And one of the largest furniture manufacturing cities in all of Mexico is not too far away from you. It's like
it's true.
Yeah.
You can find some really good things. It's so much fun to go shopping there too, and Tornala as well. So
is there as well. So what would you say are some of the biggest real estate opportunities right now in terms of pricing and specific areas?
I think that what's surprising to me is that there are homes that are going for really good prices that are in very nice neighborhoods. La Floresta, Rancho del Oro, Villanova, La Huerta. There's neighborhoods that are kind of known as being prestigious. Arroyo Alto, Arroyo Sur. And for whatever reason, they've got some gorgeous properties in there. And I think that somehow, I don't know if it's the agent's fault, where they're not communicating clearly with their buyer that, hey, here's an opportunity for you. This house has been on the market for a while. I think that people come in going, I want to buy, I need to buy an affordable house, let's say between $300,000 and $600,000. And what surprising is that I'm seeing that areas that are not as prestigious, and I won't name them, but they have more sales right now where you could have bought a house in one of these other areas where it's going to increase in value more quickly. And it's going to be a better, more desirable place to live. And those homes are like beautiful little gems that people are like, oh, I can't afford to live there. And they're not realizing that those prices, some of them have drastically reduced their prices, or they are very motivated to sell. They need to sell. So there've been homes sitting on the market that I'm going, I don't understand this at all. And homes in other areas that are not as desirable for the same amount of money are very close. So I think that's a missed opportunity for buyers. Buyers should be coming in because sellers are willing to negotiate, right?
All right. Yeah, it's definitely, well, like we've been in a buyer's market for the last few years. Some of the owners, some of the sellers, they're coming to realize that, hey, this is not 2021, 2022. They've slowly been reducing their prices.
Yeah.
So we're seeing multiple price reductions to where they need to be, the realistic range, because again, post-pandemic, things were insane all over Mexico, in the United States and Canada. Prices just shot up 20, 30, 40%. It was crazy. But we're not in that market right now. And I think some sellers are kind of living in the past, thinking that, I'm going to get that money. You're not.
Yeah.
So,
but
not.
that's our job, is to educate our agent so that our agents are able to communicate that with real numbers. I mean, using graphs and things like that. I do that in my agents meetings because it's so important that they have the information, because I can't tell you how many times sellers will say to me, but there's a house for 1.5 million across the street from me, and it's not nearly as nice as my house. And I look at it and I go, yeah, and it's been on the market for 700 days. It is.
Kristina, let me kind of jump in there and just kind of right on what you just said. At my last office meeting, I had a presentation with my team on how to do a CMA, a comparative market analysis, and the pros and cons of pricing the property right, and hopefully a seller that is reasonable and will listen and look at the facts of what has truly sold. Anybody could ask anything at any price for their property. You could ask $2 million if you wanted to, but it's really worth $200,000. You could ask. So to say that, oh, well, my neighbor there, their house it's on the market for 1.5, but okay, has anything like your neighbor's house sold for 1.5?
Yeah.
And the answer is usually no. But when we did the CMA MLS, and I gave this perfect example. So, in the MLS, we can look at the details of the listing and see every time there was a price increase or decrease, right? Or whatever price adjustment, upwards or downward. And this one particular condo, and this really sets the mind frame of what you need to do, because if you don't listen to the market, you risk falling into this trap for the seller. This property has been on the market for, I think it was like 1,245 days with 7 price reductions, 7, and it's still on the market. So the question is, does the agent know what they're doing, or the agent is letting the seller lead the listing, and in either case, the agent is not doing the seller any good, any service. And I would not work with a seller like that. And if we're not going to be realistic,
stay.
Right, we're not living in 2021, 2022.
That's exactly what I tell my agents. I've said it's better to be the second agent after that agent gets fired, because they will be blamed for not selling at the unrealistic price. And if you came in with concrete numbers, they're going to call you.
Thanks for listening to Live by Design Mexico Edition. If there's a topic you'd love for us to cover, email us at info@tanielchemsian.com. We'd love to hear your ideas. And be sure to subscribe, share the show with a friend, and join me each week as we explore how to create freedom, adventure, and live by design under the Mexican sun. Design your days now, and your future will follow.